Today I have an Xbox One S with an electrified scorpion skin. Hopefully it won't sting. It was brought in for a no display issue, and looking at the HDMI port I do see some bending going on. Overall it looks pretty clean. The design on the front looks rather shocking. Alright, that's about enough of striking up lightning jokes. Let's pop this box open. The One S has 3 types of screws, all torque setted. The long green ones are frame screws, the silver ones are component screws, and the black ones are for the daughter boards and heatsink. Let's take a look under the hood. Surprisingly, it looks great. Nothing out of the ordinary yet. The components are best removed in a certain order. I'll start with the hard drive, then the disk drive, and finally the power supply. The front USB has a metal retainer clip. It doesn't really do anything. When fully assembled, it's nearly impossible to bend the USB anyway. It can be pried up and off. Now the board can be lifted up by the fan and towards you, away from the ports on the back. I see a lot of people struggle with the X clamp on the heatsink. I use a pair of pliers to grip and twist the clamps. With 2 removed, the rest will pull off easier. The HDMI port has 4 main feet that hold it to the board. I'll add some leaded solder to the feet to help them melt faster. The entire board is basically one giant thermal sink and takes a lot of heat to loosen components. Mixing leaded solder to the factory unleaded will lower the overall melting point. It isn't necessary, but it really does help with removal and cleaning. Also, it's pretty fun. With my heat gun set to 450 degrees Celsius and a few drops of flux on the pins, it only takes a minute or 2 to get the port off cleanly. Next, we're on pad cleanup duty. The pads need the old solder cleaned off, and I'll also wick up the 4 feet so the new port can be seated better. The solder sticks quickly to the copper braid, which also has a capillary effect and pulls the solder further up the braid and off the pads. This part is really fun to see up close. I'll lay some flux across the pads and pencil leaded solder across them with the fine tipped iron. Some people prefer to add the solder after the port is in place. I tend to do a mix of both. Holding the port in place, I'll press each pin down to its already tinned pad. This can be done before or after attaching the feet. It's whatever you're comfortable with. Taking a much closer look, you can see the pads stick quickly to the pins. While it takes a bath in the ultrasonic, I have a good opportunity to clean the crunchy old thermal paste off the heatsink. A good wipe with alcohol will do the trick, but I like seeing it flake apart. A nice fresh dollop of paste on the APU here, and I'll smash it down with the heatsink and get this console ready for a bench test. It works fine, or so I thought until I listened closer. Hear that? That's what we call bad news. Dead hard drive. I'll connect this blank drive for testing. Sure enough, we have display. Success. But it's telling me something went wrong. I'm not going to get into the absolute joy that is reinstalling system software in this video, but suffice it to say this console refused 3 different drives and several versions of the Xbox OS. That might be one for a later video, but probably not. Thanks a ton for joining me. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy this kind of content, and check out Random Repairs in Progress over on my Instagram and TikTok. I'll see you next time.